Good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to On the Mark, along with Mark Papa. I'm Gary Byron. Mark is with Financial Resources Group out of Glastonbury, Connecticut. You can find him online at www.frplan.com. F as in Frank, rplan.com. And write this phone number down. If you want to call it now, by all means. I don't want you to miss any of the show, but you can call it at the conclusion of the show. Call it sometime this weekend. Call him Monday. Just call him because he's got a wealth of information that's only going to be to your advantage. And I really do mean this. It's so customized and personalized that what works for one person may not work for another person. As you know, all of our individual situations are different. This is why you can get a lot of information from this show, but how it pertains specifically to you can only be obtained through a consultation. There's no obligation. But at least sit down and talk to Mark, and you can call him at 860-657-8380. One more time, 860-657-8380. And by the way, if you missed any of those points of contact, I'm going to repeat it at least 2 more times before the show is over. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Great. Nice to see you.
Yeah, it feels like fall today. So it's starting to get that feel that
It's beautiful out. It's good. It's like 80. It's going to be 80 today. It's going to be 85 tomorrow. Yeah. What a weekend we're having. We had some cooler days earlier in the week, like Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
But this weekend's weather is just perfect.
Yeah, perfect for all those fairs and festivals and different events. And
I'm even looking into
living in New England living.
I'm even looking into like Monday, Tuesday. It's going to be in the mid 80s there too. I mean, I'll take this.
Hey, don't put your polo shirts away yet.
That's right. That's how you got to look at it.
Don't turn your closet over yet. Yeah.
How was your week, by the way?
Very good. Very good. Can't complain. So we're in the process of acquiring the firm. We're finalizing crossing I's, dotting T's, and just getting the final funding ready to go. And I'll be the official owner of Financial Resources Group, the sole member, very shortly.
Because right now there's been a partnership, right?
Yeah.
For a number of years.
So Richard Rake, who is the longtime owner, chief compliance officer, and certified financial planner, is going to be taking I'll be taking on the more active role. He's going to take on the more passive role, where he's just going to be a registered representative of the firm, and I'll be the owner and do the owner-operator part, which is great because he's going to take the time to help me transition and just show me the ropes on. I've run businesses before, so I just have to do a little bit more day-to-day, do more bill paying and things of that nature. But, it's just like anything. It comes, comes with practice. It's not a big deal.
That's great.
It's not going to slow down my business.
So how exciting is that for you?
Well, it is exciting. I probably have a little bit different vision for the firm, especially with the full checklist review and some of the other things that I'm doing. I think that can take us extremely far, just because it's so different and so much. We'll detail that, and again, we're going to be talking about in this segment.
Let's talk about a checklist in a moment, but continue with that thought. And you've got another event coming up at Ruth Chris.
October 7th. I have an October 7th event coming up.
That's Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday, October 7th. And anyone interested, if you're listening, there's still seats available. I had a way over capacity, and some of the people are rebooking for the 7th and the 28th. But if you could call 877-690-6689, write that down, 877-690-6689. We can find seats for you for the at Ruth Chris Steakhouse for the Roth Blueprint. We're trying to start by 6 p.m., so if you can arrive by 5:30, that'd be great. And it's October 7th, Tuesday, October 7th, or Tuesday, October 28th.
What was the time that you said on that?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. And that, by the way, Ruth Chris Steakhouse on the Berlin Turnpike in Newington.
Yes, exactly. That's 877-690-6689. And you can register online as well. So, I'm excited about that. And the reason I want to bring up the Roth Blueprint again is just because it is just resonating like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's really, really helpful.
So that's what you talk about, right? You've hosted your Roth Blueprint seminar. You're going to have another one that's on Tuesday. And it was a huge hit, and I know you said you expect capacity again. That's why people need to make that phone call right now. Maybe you can give us a quick recap. In other words, walk us through those 6 chain reactions that retirees are facing and why there's such a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. And then if you're lucky enough to get our mailer and you actually open it up, it'll show how you can increase your lifetime tax-free wealth by up to 97% with the new Roth blueprint. And just another bullet point that, we talk about a double compounding cost that could quietly drain over $500,000 from your future retirement. We talk about the IRMA. So why don't we get into it, Gary? There are 6 chain reactions and these things called required minimum distributions. If you are below 73, you were born before 1959, you will be taking your first required minimum distribution at age 73. So if you're younger than that, you still have time to make some moves before you have to hit your required minimum distributions. If you were born after 1960, you don't have to take your RMD, required minimum distribution, until you're age 75. So that gives you a little bit more wiggle room. But the sooner you start, the better. And, I've also advertised a way to get, pay 70% less on your IRA withdrawals. That's 70% less on IRA withdrawals, depending on your tax bracket, of course. But that was one way for people who are 60. It is a good time to start considering doing Roth conversions so that you could take away that taxable IRA. $27 trillion in taxable IRAs and 401k plans. And we are at a historic tax rates. It's historic lows. And we only know the government's going to be coming for that money eventually because we can't, again, we're adding $1 trillion of debt every 173 days. It is ugly out there. And the government's coming for you. So we want to make sure that the government can't come for you.
Even in this administration?
Well, that's the thing. We have a gift from the Trump administration. Now, let's hope that we can grow our way out of the problem. I just don't see it happening with $37 trillion in debt. There's really, Congress, shutting down the government and all this crazy stuff. They really have no desire to stop spending because every vote they have is tied to some dollar that they vote for a spending increase. Then there's no one really voting. There's less voters voting for them to cut spending. Think about that. So it's a very, very difficult thing. But the only way they're going to fix this problem, again, is probably to raise taxes. And that's another problem with required minimum distributions, even at these low tax brackets. Let's say we have an 8-year window, Gary. If you're in the 22 bracket and now all of a sudden you might have a pension, you have Social Security, you have capital gains or other income, dividends, interest,
right.
And now all of a sudden you get hit with your RMDs, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, let's take the RMD, go on a cruise," but then all of a sudden you realize that you just put yourself from the 22 bracket to the 24 bracket on a good amount of income. That is a pretty expensive cruise, right? Because now the cruise was expensive, your Disney cruise was expensive, but now you're also in a higher tax bracket, so that just basically increased the cost of your cruise or your vacation, if I could put a story to it. So think about how insane that is. If you could take the time to prevent it. We can also show people a way to do the Roth conversion because you could get hit, a very safe way of doing the Roth conversion. Because if you do a Roth conversion today and the market crashes, which is something I'll be talking about soon, potentially happening, here's the bottom line. You get you can't go back and reverse that anymore. So now you're going to be paying taxes on the higher balance and you'll have less money. So we want to make sure that, we do it in a safe way. So we have a very strategic way to make sure you can convert that IRA without reducing your balance.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Let's do
so
it.
That was the first chain reaction is the increase in adjusted gross income can put you in a higher tax bracket.
Okay. But there's 6 total, right?
There's 6 total. So the second one I kind of just alluded to is taxes on Social Security. A lot of times people don't realize that, the way to fix Social Security was to increase taxes on Social Security. And what they did was they made it so that, and now they did do a minor little fix in the last OBBB.
I heard about
with
that.
The 6%, 6% deduction or whatever they're doing. But it is that hadn't been adjusted since like the early 90s. So it's been the same ever since. And what that means is that your taxes for your Social Security get added to your AGI, adjusted gross income, above a certain level. So there's some people I have seen that basically had a lot of Roth money, or they just didn't have a lot of IRA money, and they collect Social Security, 2 Social Security checks, and they live off dividends and interest, and they're fine. They don't have barely any tax bill, and they're living on a decent amount of money, and their taxable Social Security is low. It's barely taxed, and they're doing just fine. The house is paid, the bills are paid, the debt's paid. They have plenty of money in the bank, and they've set themselves up to where they're really not paying a lot in taxes. And then there's other people that don't. I guess you call it a luxury, but the luxury of having a lot of money is certainly something that we would probably choose versus the latter. But how we actually structure ourselves and structure that money, that's what I can help people do. So it's kind of hard for somebody with a couple $1 million, to without doing the Roth conversion to help them reduce taxes on Social Security. It's almost impossible. Okay. But either way, you have to try. And paying less in taxes during your retirement, I've always been a fan to say charity begins at home, right? If you're giving your money to the government, where's it going? I mean, charity begins at home. And I'm starting to believe with $37 trillion in debt, adding $1 trillion every 173 days, we got to start thinking about taking care of ourselves. And I'm even thinking, we had that thing on cryptocurrency. Yeah. I'm thinking of saying, well, Mark, what are you doing with all that cash in your emergency fund? You need to do something else with that.
What would you do?
And I'm thinking,
buy more crypto?
This sounds crazy, but yeah, something that's not the dollar, because it's just it's a little nerve wracking. So.
But you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, neither.
Absolutely
just in
not.
Case.
No.
You got to be prudent. You have to be conservative with how you distribute your investments.
Exactly. And then another thing
what about the IRMA?
Yeah, that's another thing we like to talk about. So in the presentation, I show you how the IRMA, which is called the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. IRMA, okay? Mm-hmm. Right. Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. That's more of an exam question. What that does is it will spike your Medicare Part B and D premiums, and they can jump 2 to 8 times higher. So from $200 to $1,600 extra per person annually, and you compound that over 20, 30 years, and it's easily like $100,000 per couple. So we actually show people how this can actually have a huge impact on you. You've paid into Social Security your whole life, and then they tax it. Now you're paying into Medicare your whole life, and they're taxing that. So they're making it so it's a means-tested approach, and the more you make, the more they're gonna charge you. So if there's a way around that problem, we know that there is a way around that problem. We can show people how to do that. And I also have my tax mitigation business. So it's not always, let's say you have a big one-time hit, or you sold an investment property, or you got a big capital gain from the sale of a stock, you panicked out of the market, or sold your NVIDIA, whatever the case may be. I also have tax mitigation strategies outside of the Roth conversion to help you augment those taxes. I just thought I'd throw that in there since we're on the topic. But anything we can do to help you get money out of these taxable qualified accounts, taxable IRAs, taxable simple plans, taxable set plans, 403Bs, which teachers and nonprofits, or 401Ks if you were corporate, work for a corporation. Anything we can do to help you reduce those balances and transition that to a Roth IRA in a non-taxable account is something that I think everybody should be taking a look at, for sure.
Okay.
And again, that number to call if you want to register, 877-690-6689. So make sure.
For Ruth Chris. This Tuesday, the 7th of October.
Tuesday, the 7th of October. We'd be more than happy to see you on the 28th of October, too, because what I've been getting here, Gary, which is very rare, and again, the first time around, I didn't have a lot of time to actually work the room because I had to do 2 rooms. I had 2 rooms of people.
I don't know how you did it. You were by yourself, too, right?
I had to leave room 1 behind while the stakes were just arriving at room 2. And I didn't have a time to actually work the room, talk to people, and I still had a whole bunch of appointments.
Do you talk while they're eating their steaks?
No. The goal is to have you come in. We're going to have your salad. At 6 o'clock, we're going to serve right away. And then right towards the end of the conversation as I'm concluding, they're going to bring then they bring out the meal. So it gives you time to digest, time to think, time to learn. This way you're not starving to death. So yeah, we like to bring the salads out.
How long is the entire? Is it 90 minutes?
No, not even close. I mean, I get that presentation done in about 45 minutes.
And dinner as well?
Well, I mean, dinner's going to be a little, you're going to take time because it's not like you're eating fast food. So you're going to take your time. But yeah, it's about a couple hour event.
Yeah, okay.
Don't expect to stay, if you want to stay longer, you can. But not that big of a deal.
Very well.
Yeah, we're not there we're not going to be there all night in a monotone, putting you to sleep either. It's one of the best events I've ever done, and I'm excited about it, which is why I want to talk about it.
People are raving about it, and I'm excited for you. So they're so successful, you've got 2 more dates. Like I said, this Tuesday, and then that's the 7th, and then on Wednesday the 22nd? Is that what you said as well?
28th.
Oh, 28th.
Tuesday the 28th.
Tuesday the 28th. Okay.
Tuesday the 7th, October 7th,
and
Tuesday,
then Tuesday
October
the 28th.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like Tuesday nights. Tuesday nights are perfect.
It's a good night. Talk about the widower's penalty.
Yeah, this is another one. So, and if you talk, by the way, when we do our goals meeting with folks, we ask them if they were ever shown the program that will help your spouse from losing half to a third of your Social Security benefits. There's actually a program for that, and we ask them if they've applied for that. So one of the main things which is interesting is the widower's penalty. People don't realize not only do you lose half your spouse's Social Security, or a good chunk of it, half to a third of it, you also become a single taxpayer in the year after their death. So if you're getting RMDs, what you do is called a beneficiary IRA. It's a spousal beneficiary. Now you have hubby's, right? You have husband's IRA combined with in your IRA. Now all of a sudden you have to start taking RMDs on that amount, but you're a single taxpayer. Now what happens is it's easier to hit from the 12 to the 22 to the 24 bracket because you have this big IRA churning out income that you don't want, that you don't need. You're being forced upon you, and it's putting you in a higher tax bracket. So that's the widower's penalty. And I'm not sure how many advisors are even talking about that. But do you remember, what was it, a couple episodes ago, I said, what was the average age of a widow?
Yeah,
it's not very high in this country. Not very high at all. It's stress, and we're working, and somewhere in the 60s.
That's very
and my grandfather, on my mom's side, passed away early at 55. So I have a cardiac. I want to make sure I get checked. I make sure I'm good. I'm in good shape, but I'm still always double checking.
I'm 55. Yeah. I'm listening to you, Michael.
Yeah, so I'm always double checking, making sure that nothing goes down with me. So it's super important. But yeah, so the widower's penalty, that is where you get those RMDs and you have all your income piling on, and now you're single, you're in a higher tax bracket, and the withholding that you used to have in that account no longer sufficient, and you're going to end up owing the government. So then you're going to have to next year figure out how much more to send. Or you can come see me, do a Roth conversion now, not have these problems, and not have to worry about it.
Folks, you are listening to On the Mark alongside Mark Papa. I'm Gary Byron. Mark Papa and is the owner of, on his way to be the owner of Financial Resources Group in Glastonbury. You can find him online at frplan.com, frplan.com, as well as giving him a phone call, 860-657-8380. 860-657-8380. The consultation, absolutely free. And at the end of the show, not only am I going to repeat those points of contact, I'm also going to, or maybe I'll have Mark do it. He'll tell you on how you can sign up for this free seminar that's occurring this Tuesday, October 7th, as well as Tuesday, the 28th of October at Ruth Chris. All the details, the phone number, the time, and the dinner. All coming up in just a few minutes. All right, so let's move along. You have chain reaction number 5.
Yeah, now this is the 10-year rule torpedo for beneficiaries. This sadly applies to inherited IRAs and regular Roth IRAs. Now, the bad news is for the regular IRA, it has to be emptied within 10 years. So if let's say you have $1 million IRA, that means both beneficiaries, you have 2 beneficiaries, they're each going to have to pull out $500,000 each over the next 10 years, or $50,000 a year. That is a punishing tax because you used to be able to stretch that over a lifetime and get what was called an inherited IRA, and you would have a special IRS table that would let you stretch that throughout your lifetime. And it would get a little worse every year, but you're in your 40s or whatever. It wasn't that bad, and people would take that money, go on vacation. The real smart people would take those and buy life insurance, but that's a different story. They're the 1%. But long story short, you have to take that money out. Now you have typically people in their higher earning years because their parents are passed away in the mid 70s or early 80s, and they're still in their late 50s, early 60s, and they're earning in their maximum income years. Now you're piling another $50,000 of income on them over the next 10 years, on top of the money they've saved for their own retirement and the potential RMDs they might get. So, the bad news is with the Roth IRA, the money's got to come out and is no longer tax sheltered, but you don't get taxed on it. But the regular IRAs, those are hammering people. And that means you have to jump through lots of hoops. You have to then put money back into your tax sheltered accounts as much as you can, which creates a problem for you because now your Roth blueprint is going to be a lot harder to achieve because you're pulling money out of one IRA and trying to fund another. So I've actually had people take money, that inheritance, at $50,000, say, okay, how much you put in your 401k? And they're like, well, we want a new deck and we want to paint the house. And I'm like, great, be ready to pay the piper, or you can take those two checks because I know they're not maxing their 401. And that's a problem is most people maxing their 401 is, oh, I do the match at work. Okay, so if the work is matching 3%, they're like, oh, I'll do up to the match. You can put a lot more than the match. So I have to max out. They'll put each put $24,000 in their 401k, and that augments the tax bill. And I show them how much they're going to save, and sometimes it's $8,000-$10,000 for the good savers, and then there's other people that need to spend the money. So we're there to give you the advice regardless of what your choice is.
All right, so let's get to the final one with the 6 chain reactions: loss deductions and opportunity costs.
Yeah, so as your income goes up, obviously certain deductions go away. So certain things go away, certain things phase out. For some of those parents that would ordinarily get the, tuition tax credit for their kids when they get that, 10-year rule RMD, that's not happening. They could use that to pay for college, but, still, it's just you're going to pay for college, you're still going to get hit with higher tax bills. So so all that money that you're used to getting back for, let's say, the college tuition, the different types of college tuition tax credits that you can normally get, you won't get anymore. If you're a younger couple, daycare expense, you may not be able to write that off anymore. All those little credits that you normally would be used to getting. If you're a younger family, you're not going to have that. So those are things that, and then people who are seniors too. Some seniors like to do direct deductions to direct checks. Sometimes they'll help pay for college, and they won't get that credit either. So,
all right,
so there's a lot of different things.
Let's tie this all in here because you've gone over these 6 chain reactions. And I heard you mention it. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but how do you tie in the checklist to the 6 chain reactions? That's
a great question. This took me a while to figure out because this is not what the creator of the program does. The creator of the program wants to sit down, show you the problem. He wants to fix it right away. Unfortunately, I disagree with that. I don't think that version works. I don't think that's going to be successful, and that might work for him. I would rather say, okay, now that we know we're here, let's see how to best implement this Roth blueprint. What is the best way? I need to see a tax return, obviously. I need to see your investment statements. So while I'm at it, why don't I take a look and see if I'm here to save you money on taxes, whether you're not paying too much in additional or hidden fees. And I'm not just talking about what the mutual fund manager is charging or what the advisor is charging. I'm talking about hidden and onerous fees that are behind the scenes that you were never shown. More recently, it wasn't a huge client. And I mean, no, it doesn't mean huge, but meaningful client is, $600, $700,000 in combined, I think, account values.
Okay.
We found an additional, I'll just round the number up. I don't have the exact number, but it was in the $9,000 range in hidden and necessary fees that they were paying. So while I'm at it, I don't want to, be able to help someone save on taxes and then not take a look at save on that, right? Also, let's say, what if the beneficiaries of the Roth blueprint are wrong? What if they don't have them correct? What if they just put third, and a third, but they forgot to do one thing that could potentially disinherit their grandkids? Let's think about that. And I'm not checking that. What kind of advisor would I be, Gary? Terrible, right?
Yeah.
So we'll let everybody know the Roth blueprint is we'll do the Roth blueprint, and it'll come with a full checklist as well. So you're getting real value as to what we're doing, because we're going to find hidden and unnecessary fees, benefits that you're owed you weren't aware of. A third thing is we're going to give you a way to check your home insurance. Now, let's think about this, Gary. Have you read the news about the drones flying over your house and checking your roof?
I've heard about that.
Yeah. And if that roof is more than 20 years old, guess what your insurance company's going to do?
Jack up your rates.
Jack up your rates or cancel you. And what if you don't get that in the mail, Gary? What if you didn't open that one? What happens? So that's exactly why we love the Roth blueprint, but we want to do the full checklist review on top of it. Right, combine the two.
Talk about how they can get this checklist and talk about your event that's happening on Tuesday.
So October 7th, October 28th, 877-690-6689. Just call up and reserve your seat.
Repeat that number again. You said it kind of quick.
Yeah, 877
Yeah.
690-6689.
Okay.
Jot that down. Reserve your spot for either of those two events, and we'll go from there. And then if you decide to come and you want to make an appointment thereafter, you get a complimentary Roth blueprint, free of charge, no hassle, no strings attached. In addition, we'll do the Roth blueprint, and we'll also combine it with the full checklist review.
Very easy.
Yep.
Folks,
it's a win-win-win.
If you'd like some more information on Mark's company out of Glastonbury, Financial Resources Group, head on over to their website. It is frplan.com. frplan.com. If you want to sit down with Mark outside of his seminar at Ruth Chris on Tuesday, then give him a call at his office. There's no obligation. 860-657-8380. Again, it's 860-657-8380. For Mark Papa, I'm Gary Byron. Thank you so much for listening to On the Mark. Until next Saturday morning, have a good one, everybody. So long.